So I have another story about Western governments directly funding jihadists for you. This is fun. So this may sound like Alex Jones level conspiracy, but it's not. British aid scheme suspended amid allegations of payments to Syrian jihadis. Multi-million-pound Ajax project to fund new police force put on hold after reports cash was handed straight to extremists. So, they give some specifics. They say the government has suspended a multi-million-pound foreign aid project amid allegations that money paid to a contractor in Syria was reaching the pockets of jihadist groups. The plug was pulled on the scheme funding a civilian police force following claims its members were being made to hand cash to extremists. Officers from the Free Syrian Police Force were apparently also working with courts accused of torture and summary executions. Wow. So there were a lot of people who would have told you early on that maybe you shouldn't be funding these people, but you dismissed them. You called them Assad apologists who are, in favor of a dictatorship, and you acted like moderate rebels didn't do nothing wrong. Well, here we are. Listen, this is the problem for the longest time in the Syrian civil war, is that after a certain amount of time, all the moderates are going to leave. You know what happens if you're a moderate? You're going to say, fuck this. This war's been going on for over a year. I don't want to die. I don't want my kids to die. I'm going to go, I'm a doctor. I'm a shop owner. I'm going to go flee to this other country and try to set up a new life there. That's what happens if you're a moderate. You know who stays and fights for years and years and years and years and years? Ideologues. That's who does that. People who believe they're fighting a holy war. That's who does that. So that's why, yes, the numbers show the majority of the rebels in Syria are extremist groups. It's ISIS, it's Al-Qaeda, it's formerly Al-Nusra. That was the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group. Then they changed their name because they went, holy shit, the West realizes that we're Al-Qaeda. Now we got to pretend like we're not, and we're moderate again. And what happened was the Free Syrian Army was still a little too buddy-buddy with these people now, weren't they? Because, hey, they agree on one major... Assad's the problem. They agree on that. So, hey, I'll look the other way when you do your fucking torture and executions. Because we all agree Assad's bad, so we're de facto allies. We might not totally agree. We might have more freedom in Free Syrian Army areas. People could smoke cigarettes, for example. You get beheaded for that in ISIS areas. But, hey, when push comes to shove, we're more your ally than we are with the government. So, what are we going to do? And this is the U.S., and this is the West. Specifically, in this case, this is a British aid program that was funding jihadists. So, listen, history is clear on this. Even in a situation where you have a brutal dictator, to fund and prop up a rebel force to topple the dictator, you don't know who's going to fill the power vacuum. You don't know. Look at what's going on in Libya right now. There are literal slave markets in Libya. Gaddafi was a monster. But knowing all that we know now about what happened post-Gaddafi, was it a good idea for the U.S. to go in there and topple Gaddafi? No, it's also none of our business. So there's a principled argument against doing it. Never mind a practical and pragmatic argument against doing it. But this is the same. This is Iraq all over again. What happened in Iraq? Look, Saddam Hussein's a monster. Everybody agrees with that. Nobody disagrees that Saddam Hussein's a monster. Nobody. But that doesn't mean you go in there and topple the fucking guy, because then you broke the country, and ISIS rose up out of that power vacuum. So you killed a monster, you got a worse monster. This is the same script over and over and over. Now we're going through it again in Syria, and Western governments are doing the same shit. Yeah, I don't know, it's fun to prop up the rebels. By the way, in the case of the U.S., we had Pentagon-armed rebels fighting CIA-armed rebels in Syria. Can you imagine that? U.S. taxpayers are funding both sides of a civil war. That's what we're doing. We had General Petraeus say, how about we arm Al-Qaeda on purpose? Because Al-Qaeda is going to fight ISIS. So if we arm these jihadists, they'll fight these other jihadists. arm the people who attacked us on 9/11, and you think that's not going to come back to bite us in the ass, you fucking moron? It's amazing how bad the establishment's line of thinking is. But really, at the end of the day, what these governments care about, these Western governments, is we got to get rid of Assad because Assad is an ally of Russia. That's what it really comes down to. And the idea is, hey, if we'll topple Assad, and then we'll get, you know, hopefully, they don't know, but hopefully, a relatively kind Sunni leader in there who will align with the U.S. government in the same way that Saudi Arabia aligns with the U.S. government. So if that means turning Syria into a theocracy in order to get, like Saudi Arabia, in order to get our business interests directly involved in Syria and give us control of that vital region, well, then so be it. So that's why you kind of look the other way as you funnel weapons and money to jihadists. Fucking preposterous this is. This is the same, you know, just, they called Osama bin Laden a freedom fighter, the Independent. A well-known, well-respected British, you know, news outlet called him a freedom fighter, called Osama bin Laden a freedom fighter on the path to peace. The U.S., Ronald Reagan, had the fucking Taliban, the Mujahideen, in the White House because we were arming them when they were fighting the Soviet Union. So we armed these monsters. We aligned with these monsters. We're still aligned with these monsters in Saudi Arabia, jihadists, Salafists. And then we turn around and say, well, we got to obviously keep doing all these wars because there's so many terrorists around. Right, you armed them. You propped them up. Just stop arming them. How about that? We never learn. We never fucking learn.